Transitions can be your best friend and your greatest enemy at the same time. I've already shown you some animations like the fade in and fade out with the icons, but know that you could do the same thing with the slides. I'm gonna show you this now.
Okay, so let's talk about transitions. Transitions are basically the animations from one slide to the other, okay? So this is what you're going to do. This is your first slide. You're gonna go to transitions and you're just gonna be able to look at those, okay? Now, let me tell you something real quick. Most, if not all but 2 transitions here I do not recommend you using. They are distracting. When I say that presentations get distracting, it's usually because some weird transition going on in the middle of the presentation. So if I were you, I would stick to morph and fade. I'm gonna talk about fade and then I'm gonna mention what morph is. You may find a place where random bars or something like this fall over is going to work, but I find that probably unlikely. Okay, without further ado, let's get to it. So this is what you're going to do. Let's say you want to transition to this slide 18, okay? So what I'm gonna do is add fade to it, okay? You can come with duration options just like before, just like with the animations, you can do all of that, okay? But when you do add a transition, you're gonna be able to see this over here, play animations. All right, let's give it a shot. Let's look at this. All right, this is how it plays, okay? Now, this also works when you're dealing with icons or some version of that. So let me add fade to this one and this one, okay? So let's go from the start. So that's the first slide. Now fading into this one. Now fading to the different one. And now, you see how this just fades into parts of it? That's because there's the animation, right? This is a sample text, and then you can talk about John and then how he purchased the apple. Okay, and that's how you start to make your presentations feel seamless, because when you're using transitions plus the animations, it feels like you're telling a continuous story. All right, so this is how you use transitions.
Okay, now that you got that transition out of the way, I want to show you my favorite transition ever. The things I get excited about. It's called morph transition. Here's how it works. Say that you want a dog to appear here. And then you also want a cat to appear here. Alright? But instead of just making them fade in or just pop on the screen, you want to make them come from the sides of the screen or from top or down to that spot. So take the icon and have it come here. Here's how you do it.
This is literally my favorite transition, and I'm gonna show you how it works by telling you a story. Let's imagine the following. John is at work and he needs to come back to get some cash, and in the meantime he's also gonna grab a snack, and he wants an apple for whatever reason. But there is a problem. Once he gets home, his dog is eating his money and his cat is playing around with his apple, and it's all sorts of scratched and all. And now John is left with no money, no food, and it's all sad and actually cries a lot, and it's pretty upset about it. Okay, this is a silly story, but this presents how a morph transition works. And if you could not realize where it was, then we accomplished a lot, because we actually went through a few different slides without you even noticing. Let me show you. So this is what we do. We're gonna go over here. This is the very first slide that I presented to you, right? So morph transitions, a story. Now the second slide was this one. So nothing new here. John appears, then Cash appears, then Apple appears. But you already noticed that the dog icon and the cat icon are outside of the slide, okay? Here's what you do. You're gonna set the final slide as you wish. So this is the end of the story. You're gonna make a copy or duplicate it, okay? Now, this, which is gonna be this one in my case. So I brought the cat down. So let's do this here. Bringing the cat down in the same line. Okay, so let me delete this one just so we can stay consistent. And now the dog is up, so we're gonna make the same thing here, and we're gonna bring the dog up. Duplicate slide. Dog comes up. Now they're both outside of the screen. Now this one doesn't really matter because I just added the animations. You could do it here, so you could add animation 1, animation 2, and animation 3. Okay, let's delete this one. There you go. So now you're left with the final slide, and then a middle portion of it in which the dog comes in, and one that has none. So none, dog, cat, or both. Okay, the trick is over here. You're gonna come to transitions. You see that I've selected morph? All right, in this case, it shouldn't be a morph because there's nothing here, so let's keep it none. Now you're gonna go to the second slide, and this is where the morph transition is gonna play a role. You come here and you select morph. It could be fade, it could be none, but here you gotta choose morph. Now let's play it out. Look. So it's gonna come to animations. Now the dog. This dog is in the new slide. Look, 22, 23. And just to show you, let's actually take out this morph transition over here and make it a fade so you can see the difference of what it looks like. So animations, now you see that's a fade. But if we go for morph, the dog is gonna come from the outside of the screen. In other words, it's gonna move from where it was before to the final spot. And now we're gonna do the same thing with the cat. So morph transition over here, and don't forget the cat was here on the previous slide. And a final time. Dog comes in, cat comes in. You see, and of course you can make it faster, change the duration so you don't have to wait for the icon to move that much, but that does add a seamless sensation to your presentation. And the example I'm gonna give you right now is a real example that I've used in one of my classes in the past. So this is what's gonna happen. I'm gonna show you a table. Don't get overwhelmed by it. None of it actually matters. The content doesn't matter. I just want you to understand what is going on because I'm gonna talk about the transition from one table to the other. I was talking about this table in class, and there was an outcome A, which was fires, outcome B, which was clover, and outcome C, which was spark arrestor. And we were looking at the cost of those outcomes, okay? And those lines over here, this column over here, was a world A. So imagine there's only one world, and it's A, in which fire costs $400, clover costs $800, and spark arrestor $1,000. All right? And I was presenting another world. I was about to present the scenario B. Okay? Let me show you how it actually looked like in the real presentation. So you see, I was going through different outcomes and I was going through different things. That really doesn't matter. I just wanted you to see how kind of looks in a real situation. Let me get rid of that. Now, scenario B would have the prices, the costs flipped. So instead of fire costing $400, it would be clover that would cost $400. And then fire would now cost $800. Okay, that's all this did so far, nothing new. And then I was saying that since this was the cheapest thing, people would choose the 400, which was outcome B. Now here's the trick. I was ready to present a new scenario C, which would be right here. Okay, and instead of just going to the next slide and already having it there, already built up, I decided to add a morph transition that would create a new scenario in which the spark arrestor would cost the least. Okay, so let me show. So I was drawing the attention to the spark arrestor. Now look, creating a new scenario on the spot. This movement actually allows you to go through your presentation gradually with your audience. You're not just going through one slide to the other, but you're actually building it up in front of them. And this can actually make a huge difference when you need to slowly explain something to your audience. Okay? So I built scenario C, and I was saying how the spark arrestor would be now the cheapest thing. And I would show how in scenario C, since spark arrestor was the least costly thing, I would choose outcome C. Okay? Now, this is the end of this story, but I'm gonna show you how to do that. Here, imagine you have this one, and this is where you want to be. It's the same thing. You're gonna finalize the slide that you want. Okay, so it starts here, and you want it to end over here. And on the slide that you want to end on, you're gonna choose morph. If I delete the morph portion, look, I'm gonna go through the process again. I'm gonna show 400, outcome B, arrow. Now look, this is not as appealing. When you actually build the slide, when you actually build the table with your words and as you speak, that becomes a lot more interesting. And that is how you can actually apply morph transitions in your presentations.